his behavior didn't change. Nothing got better. In fact, everything just went downhill. His behavior deteriorated. And I was like, I'm going to stop paying for these sessions until ngibona evidence, ngibona solid proof yokuthi you're actually attending. And ngifuna ukubona behavior ishintsha. What is this? You know what he did? He got his cousin to play psychologist. He told him every single detail. And at first, while I was listening to the recording, everything was flowing, And then ding, 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 ding. I'm like, hi, man, I know this voice. Ding, ding. I know exactly who this person is. I just looked at him and I was like, seriously? He was like, what? I'm like, seriously? Oh, as in my face. And then I found out that he was still receiving money from his American ex-fiance, who he almost got married to in order to get a green card. So udla imali yami, udla nemali yakhe. Yadliwa nje left, right and said, kumnandi. I then realized that he hopped from country to country preying on gullible women with the objective of marrying them in order to get citizenship. I also came across messages between him and Tommy scheming on how to scam me. And I never really liked that Tommy guy. He was just really weird, super, super duper creepy. He'd just stand there quietly, observing my every move. But he had the audacity, the gall to chip in and add his 2 cents every single time Ghost and I had some sort of issue. And that Ghost guy would tell him yonkinto. I mean, the nitty-gritty details of every single thing that goes on in our relationship. It was so annoying, literally like dating a child. And I'd be like, I feel like we are in this relationship so babili, so now why are you adding third parties? And he'd be like, no, Tommy's the closest thing I have to home in this foreign country. Plus, he's my kid brother, so I tell him everything. We've shared everything since we were kids. Zanny now, Zanny, please doch. I later found out that they weren't even brothers. When I tell you that guy lied about everything, I mean he lied about everything. He told me he was half black and half white, and that him and Tommy shared the same white father. Hence, Tommy was more on the fair side on the skin color spectrum. Not impossible, so I believed it. He told me that he grew up in Russia, and from time to time he'd share stories with me from there, and they just didn't add up. But at the time, I wasn't as well-traveled as I am now, so I couldn't question or oppose him confidently because I didn't have enough evidence or I didn't have enough information to substantiate my arguments, so I'd play along. He told me that his mother had passed on when he was only 8 years old. But then the story would switch up every single time. Next it was, his mother lived in Angola and they didn't have any kind of relationship or any special bond because all she did was give birth to him and then desert him. And also, since he grew up in Russia, there's a huge communication barrier between them because she only understands African languages and he only speaks Russian and just a little bit of English. So it's complicated. He often told me that I was the very first black girl that he had ever dated and that to him I was extra special. I reminded him of his mother, his strong African roots and his melanin, his pride. And then he'd be like, Mommy, I'm so scared. And then he'd want me to breastfeed him. And I'd be like, what is going on? What have I gotten myself into? So this person is basically an overgrown baby. That time, he put so much pressure on me to have a child with him. And I'd be like, Njani? And we'd fight so much about that in particular because I just didn't understand the logic behind that. First of all, I'm the man and woman in this relationship. Ngiyiblessa lakho. I literally provide all your needs and wants. Ngiyakondla, ngiyakugqokisa, kwa-gym membership leyo ekwenza ube sexy uzizwe uyindoda ikhokhelwa imina. So you're basically my son, and now I'm supposed to bring another child into this world. For what? For who? So you can both suck me dry? Why? Iphi illogic. Every time we didn't see eye to eye regarding that baby topic, he'd post some of the women that he had told me were his cousins and caption the posts, "Baby on the way. Oh, thank you, God." Hey, abantu bayagula. Uyangizwa ukuthi ngisini? Kuyagulwa la emnyango. He also lied about spending most of his teenage years in prison just so he could come across as hardcore and gangster. He lied about having been in the military and suffering from PTSD, and he'd use this as an excuse every single time he acted as a hooligan. He also lied about being a famous musician in Namibia, and he'd force me to do vocals on his crappy songs. And if you know me, you know I'm a perfectionist. I don't want my name to be associated with anything engacacile, so you can imagine how I felt. He dragged me to backdoor studios eMkhukhwini enugayo yabantu engabazi to record in the middle of the night. Lapho we're recording garbage. After recording all night until the wee hours of the morning, I didn't even get a chance to rest. I had to rush to work so that I could provide for the both of us while he slept all day. Yo, I know that there's a lesson to be learned in every situation and that everything happens for a reason, but whoa, awa guys, awa. I just feel like that relationship was a waste of time, money, and I lost way more than I gained. It was just so unnecessary, you know? And you know, for some odd reason, that guy thinks he still has some kind of hold over me. The nerve to DM me asking me to fly to Namibia so we can shoot music videos for our songs that have been nominated for the Namibian Music Awards. Njani. First of all, don't disrespect Namibia like that. There's no way that garbage would have been nominated for anything, really. Secondly, your girl's vocals were really the only thing that carried those songs. You know your girl can sing, oh yeah. Okay, I'm being extra, but you know, we're working with some mean pipes over here. But my combos and his combos were not communicating. So I caught award nomination lana, guys. Come on. Also, he was inaudible, not only because he couldn't articulate himself properly in English, but because he was biting verses from people like Drake, DMX, Tupac, J. Cole, Biggie. It was a mess. Just like yonke into yakhe was a mess. That guy was so delusional. He believed his own lies. He believed that he was ghost from power. He believed that he was a feared drug lord with a military background. And no, he didn't work, but he was rich and he had a successful nightclub. He also had a white brother called Tommy. That guy harbored so much self-hate. He faked his entire life and identity. Both his parents were black. Both of them were still alive and kicking. Both of them raised him. And both were from Namibia. He didn't speak any Russian. He didn't grow up in Russia. Hell, he had never even been there. He used his cousin's ID as his own so people wouldn't know who he was or how old he was. He drove around in other people's cars and pretended that they were his. He targeted women who could take care of him so he could marry them, live comfortably, and gain citizenship in their countries. His family disowned him for being problematic, lazy, and irresponsible. So he walked around with a whole lot of anger, and he was ready to fight anyone and anything he came across. He piggybacked on a trust fund kid who was just as delusional as he was, and he used him for his daddy's funds. He used religion and culture to appear righteous, and then he would hide behind religion and culture every time he was called out on his patriarchy, misogyny, and his abusive behavior. And trust me, please trust me and hear me when I say I know how difficult and challenging it is to be a Black person in this cruel world, especially with our Black men being killed left, right, and center for absolutely no reason. But it's still no excuse for one to fake their own identity. Black people are and have always been and forever will be the cream of the crop. And see, when you're a threat, people do everything in their power to eliminate you. The sooner Black people realize this, come together and work in solidarity to fight. And I mean fight. Not lento yokuba peaceful, nokuba forgiving, but fight all the odds that are stacked against us, the better the world will be.
I think you'll find, sir, that there will come a time when Black people wake up and become intellectually independent enough to think for themselves, as other humans are intellectually independent enough to think for themselves. Then the Black man will think like a Black man, and he will feel for other Black people. And this new thinking and feeling will cause Black people to stick together. And then at that point, you'll have a situation where when you attack one Black man, you are attacking all Black men. And this type of Black thinking will cause all Black people to stick together. And this type of thinking also will bring an end to the brutality inflicted upon Black people by white people. And it is the only thing that will bring an end to it. No federal court, state court, or city court